Well, in a word, gross.
Awful. You say gross, I say
so
awful.
Bad.
Awfully gross. How about that?
Awfully gross.
Yeah.
I mean, the ineptitude on both sides this time.
Well, you know what, and let's begin with the first half of the game where offensively, once again, they really could not do anything. The first drive, we saw a little progress. They played with a little tempo. They got themselves in field goal range, and then Eddie Pinheiro stepped in and was wide left on the field goal attempt. And I believe the next drive they had an opportunity for another field goal. And instead of actually letting Eddie kick a 48 or 49-yarder or attempt a 48 or 49-yarder, they decided to go for it on 4th and long, which tells you exactly what you needed to know about how the coach feels about the kicker. So at the end of the first half, after 30 minutes of football, the Bears had run 41 offensive plays. They had 0 points to show for it.
0. And that has been a trend that has continued, unable to score in, what is it, like 9 of their 10 games they haven't scored.
It's been horrible. And look, we thought they may have been heading in the right direction with the drive to start the second half. It was, I think it was one of their best drives of the season. You know, it was an 80-yard drive. Mitch was very accurate on the drive. They mixed the run and the pass, but it was mostly a drive that was filled with throwing the ball, and it was highlighted by a very nice touch pass to Tariq Cohen in the corner. So it was a good drive, and I'm thinking at the time, they're playing an awful Rams team.
Terrible.
They really can't get out of their own way, and is trying to gift this game to the Bears. Maybe we got something here, but as we've seen, they have momentary glimpses of productivity.
Yeah.
And that's just it. There's no sustained success with this team offensively at any point.
And they were in the game. Which is, contrary to how it felt the entire night.
Well,
they were in it.
And look, I thought there were 1,000 examples. Okay, that may be a bit of an example, but at least 10 to 12 examples of the Rams gifting them the whole time. I mean, this is a Rams team that you're never going to face this Rams team when they're more vulnerable. The quarterback has been in a slump. The offensive line has been a mess. They were without their 2 top receivers. Robert Woods was supposed to play, but he was a late scratch before the game kicked off. Todd Gurley's not the same player either. I mean, he had some success in this game, but he's not the same player because of arthritis in his knee. This is a Rams team, especially in offense, that has been inept themselves. So this was a great opportunity. And the Bears, like we've seen all 2019, they weren't able to take advantage of it.
Okay, so somewhere between that solid drive in the third quarter and the final 3 minutes, Trubisky suffered this apparent hip injury, and he left the game. You saw that hug between him and Nagy afterwards. Head coach said he was pleading his case, telling him, be real with me. He wanted to stay in the game, but obviously the discomfort too much.
Yeah, and listen, I'm one that's prone to believe what I'm told.
Same.
I have no reason not to believe that Mitch was dealing with an injury. He's got a hip injury. There's 3 minutes to go in the game, 3 and change. You're down 10 points. You've lost your right tackle. Bobby Massey's not available. So you're exposing a guy who, by their report, is a bit injured to a pretty fierce pass rush that is going to have their ears pinned back and coming at you. So, listen, I mean, I can build you a case that explains away why they did what they did, but with all of that said, there's going to be a lot of conversation this week. And as we like to say, this Bears team, unfortunately, if you're in the sports media in Chicago right now, this Bears offense, at the very least, maybe in total, they're the gift that keeps on giving.
It's a dream for a radio host.
Yeah, but listen, as a former member of this organization, it pains me to watch all of them go through what they're going through. And there were such high hopes. And at 4-6, those hopes have been dashed. And now, you look towards the future. Will Mitch be physically able to play Sunday against the Giants at home here on Soldier Field? What is the outlook for the future? I mean, there's some tough conversations. If you watch the game and you watch the telecast, at the very end, they spent a lot of time focused on Ryan Pace up in the general manager's box. So he's going to have some questions to answer, I'm sure, too. And
no reason really to rush back for a 4-6 team that isn't going where you thought they would. Now, my real question at this moment, though, is who did you lose the most faith in tonight? Pinheiro, Trubisky, or Matt Nagy?
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, tonight, I think I've had some concerns about all 3 of them. And Eddie got off to a great start this year, but I think he's 4 for his last 8, I think, on field goal attempts. You saw maybe the missed kick against the Chargers is still with him. The weather's not going to get any nicer. I mean, it was beautiful in Los Angeles, but going forward, I wonder where he's at mentally right now. So I am concerned about him. I've been concerned about the coach as well. You know, I mean, I've always, not always, but since Matt's been in town and been paired up with Mitch, I've always felt a little more confident in the coach than the quarterback for you know, maybe some would say obvious reasons. Some of that faith has you know, taken a shot. I mean, because there are some questionable decisions in terms of what he's asking different players to do, calls on third down. I mean, you have 3rd and 1 and you run an option to the short side of the field, and I guess, you know, the answer to that or the response to that is, well, if it works, it's a great call, it's creative. Well, these calls aren't working right now. And then you factor in Mitch. Look, I take them for their word that Mitch was hurt, because if you're taking him out of this game based on performance, I say I can give you 6 to 8 other examples where it was more, you know, more appropriate to pull Mitch out of a game than this one. Mitch wasn't great. You scored 7 points. You had drop passes once again. You had no space created in the running game, and again, you had some, you know, some questionable calls by the coach. So just a flat disaster on offense. That's the only way to put it. And that's not being overly dramatic. That's being honest.
And that's been par for the course.
All year.
Yeah, all season long.
I mean, I believe, I mean, some of the stats are ridiculous. I mean, I think they've gone, what is it, 7 of 10 games without a first half touchdown?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing now because because I've been inundated with a lot of bad offensive, you know, facts. But I mean, they can't get started, and when they do finally do something, the rhythm and the spark doesn't last very long.
Yeah. What did you say? Less cute, more nasty?
Less cute, more nasty. It's what I was calling for. I don't want to see all the gadget plays. Just line up in the I formation and you know, try to jam the football down the field. But at this point, I don't know that they're capable of doing that. The offensive line has really struggled. Again, Mitch is really, I called 2019 the season of Mitch when the season kicked off. Well, it hasn't gone well.
No.
And I thought that this season was going to rely on, because I always thought that the defense, as good as they are, they were going to regress. Would they stay as healthy as they were last year? Would they take it away as many times? Would they score all those touchdowns? My thought was no. History tells you no. So the improvement had to come from the offensive side of the ball. Well, who's the most important player on the offense? It's Mitch. So 2019 has been the season of Mitch, but he really has not been the only problem. They lead the league in drop passes. The offensive line has created no space in the running game.
Yeah.
And again, I think the coach has not had himself a stellar 2019 campaign.
No, just a mess. And your co-host tweeted a very profound thing tonight as the Bears were sitting in prime
Mark
time
Silverman,
spotlight. Yes. Also will be in the spotlight on Thanksgiving Day and the following Thursday.
Listen.
Make it better, Tom. Make it better.
We can have you shuffled out of those. I mean, we can have you replaced maybe, you know, at the end of the season. You wanted the bright lights.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted the big stage after 12-4. This was a team that, you know, we all felt good about them, but they certainly felt good about themselves as well. And right now, something tells me they're getting flexed out of 1 or 2 of these primetime games.
Yeah, something's got to give. This is a schedule for a defending division champ. Unfortunately, they're not playing like that.
No, they are not.
They're not. All right, another week of fun.
Well, yes, we'll talk plenty of Mitch and injury, I'm sure, going forward.
All right, we'll see what happens. Tom, thanks so much.
Okay.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to our ABC7 Chicago YouTube channel.